that behind this dimension, experiment with this inner dimension of silence and light, as if it is a different world altogether. And during this minute, let there be no thoughts of this world. With eyes closed or eyes open, let us experiment. Thank you. In studies it is seen that if you start with a minute of silence, the chances of audience agreeing with the speaker are higher. So that's why always good for me to start. But also, if you create this 1 minute of silence, it clears the background noise. You will see that just 1 minute, just stepping back, and you find there are lots of cyclical thoughts within us. Some things going on that it is there at the back. And these cyclical thoughts make our system very inefficient. So if you just clear it for 1 minute, you will find this background noise stops for about an hour. Even at the chemistry level, it is seen some of our stress chemicals drop, level drops and remains low for a longer time, 90 minutes sometimes. So it is good to experiment with this, from time to time. So the subject today is on nature, and science doesn't even attempt to define nature, so also other institutions. So there is no definition of the word nature, but we all know what we mean by nature, and it is commonly used notion. But as we discuss, we will understand from what angle we are seeing this word nature. And big statement I'm making today, that nature is our friend. That is a big statement. Do you agree with this? What is your reason for this? Nature is our friend. Can you tell? This will be more an interaction. Feel free to share, also feel free to ask anytime. So nature is friend. Why do you say this? Nurtures us. Very good. But one obvious reason, we are alive. We are alive because of nature. I agree, our national health system is very efficient and keeps us going, but nature protects us. It underpins all systems, including the medical system. And simple demonstration, if you were to cut your finger, the same second mechanism starts to heal it. It's a very complex mechanism. Even to create a clot, there are so many steps in the chemistry. And then there is a fibrin network is created, and bleeding stops and healing starts. It is all nature's very complex system, very efficient system to heal. But what you see at that level, same thing is happening in our body all the time, everywhere. And constantly repair going on and constantly healing going on. But just as nature is friend and protects me and helps, cooperates, in the same way nature is friend of bacteria and animals, plants. So if you come out with antibiotics, nature helps bacteria to come out with resistance. It helps the bacteria to develop enzymes to fight your antibiotics. Some of the insecticides, the insects can process them and use that as food also. So this is like a nature's mechanism going on in this world. So nature is our friend. This is like a position, and we can't really find fault with this. And nature is friend of the planet also, planet Earth. And nature has its intelligence, as if there is a very clear intelligence, bigger plan to think and to help the planet. So if you see these different laws in science and physiology, and some of these laws, we give names, name them after some scientists, which is very good. But these are the laws that exist in nature, and they have an intelligence behind. They got some direction. They are not random laws. They are trying to preserve, they are trying to protect. For example, gravity. If gravity was not there, then planet Earth wouldn't be there. Or for that matter, the universe wouldn't be there. There is some intelligence there behind. And there is a direction. If you look into this, there is a direction, and direction is friendly. That is the position. So one biologist, he says, human beings like to invent, insecticides. We want to remove insects. We don't like insects. But insects are so important for our environment and for our existence. Human existence, we need insects for this complex ecosystem. So if he says, if the insects were removed from this planet, human race will cease to exist after 5 years. That is his statement. It may be a slightly different figure from some other people, but if the insects are removed, human race will not be able to survive for too long. But he also says, if somehow human beings were removed from this planet, then whole planet Earth will flourish within 5 years. So if we continue with what we are doing now, nature might decide to remove these human beings from the planet. Nature might see this as human beings are destructive here. And nature is having its priority to preserve the planet and preserve the larger world than the destructive creatures here. So we may have to change ourselves. Is it like that? Are human beings destructive? If you were to see objectively, we are very destructive. To start with, we can destroy this planet many times over. They are so clever. So we may have to change. If we want nature not to remove us, we may have to change and not be a problem for this planet. But let us see another aspect in this nature. In such a friendly nature, there is pain. Why do we have pain in this world? If nature is so good and we are saying it is friendly, we all love nature, and nature's laws, we said there is an intelligence there, why is there pain?
So we listen.
We listen. Okay? And if I listen, what is its intelligence there? Pain is there just to give us a message and to protect us. If the pain was not there, then I won't understand the dangers. If there was a knife here, there is no reason I should go and cut myself and not know even that I am harming myself. The pain is there to protect me, to tell me of the danger. And there is a complex system of pain. One pain of the sharp object, but there are pains of wrong position. It is giving me a message. Pain of the wrong kind of food. The pain is there to tell me what I am doing wrong. The moment we have a free will, that free will has to be balanced with pain, in the nature. So, in our body, below the skin, all our, like for example, intestines, I don't have a free will. I can't influence what intestines are doing. There is no pain receptors, the kind of pain we have on the skin. For example, if a surgeon was to remove 3 feet of the intestines, he can cut and suture back without you experiencing pain. The anesthesia is required only to go through the skin. You understand? So the pain is at that level. Once you go past that, there are no pain receptors, and patient can be conscious, awake, and you may do many things, and he will not experience pain. And why there are no pain receptors there? I don't have a conscious will at that level. There are certain things, I have a conscious will. That is where I can put myself in danger. So where there is any creature, any life, where there is free will, there it has to be balanced with pain. So by this definition, animals will have pain, and we can see this. But plants, nature will not give them pain receptors. Because by pain, they can't move away, they can't change. There is no free will at that level. So nature will not give them pain at the same kind that we have. It is different way, giving them signals, message. Am I clear? So these human beings, the moment we have this free will, it is balanced, and it is there to protect our free will, protect us from ourselves, from our freedom. And so we do act within this guidance of the nature. So if I was to eat something that is dangerous, that is poisonous, I will get pain. What kind of pain? Bad smell or nausea. That is itself is a signal to me, and then that prevents us. Animals, no one tells them something is poisonous and something is right, but they get pain. Maybe the smell itself is, like a pain for them, and they instantly know they should not go there. And so with us, we have different ways of getting this signal from nature as a friend to protect us. Then there are more complex pains, like illnesses. What is the message from illnesses? If I ignore some of the early signals, then nature has to give me bigger signals. Like sometimes you get some patients who say, maybe certain item is not good for me. If I eat even a little bit, my stomach is not, I notice stomach is not quite happy with it. But when I eat other things with it, then I'm okay. So I eat that item, but maybe it is not good for me. In fact, you will notice you get a signal the moment you put any item on the tongue, you get a signal. You know whether it is right for you or not right for you. If you give it attention, importance, if you listen, then you prevent further problem. If you ignore it, then nature will have to give a bigger signal. That is the system of nature. Nature will have to give bigger signal, and then you prevent, you take steps. If you still ignore, then nature will have to give a bigger message. One time, one lady, she was a patient, she was working for the police force, and she said, her job, everything is so happy, like career, everything is perfect, life is perfect, except for this headache she is getting. And it is spoiling her life. Otherwise, everything is perfect. But in our, as was discussed, mentioned, we go through the details and medical history. And we thought there may be one item in our food that may be the cause. The only problem was the pain was not coming same day, it was coming 2 days later. So we told her to stop this item, what she was eating. The pain stopped. There was no headache, for 2 months. So we said, okay, we don't need to see you, but I will hear from you. Some 6 months later, she comes back and says, answer, I know the answer, it is very clear to me. But now and then, I take that item on the plate, I ask myself, is it worth eating this? And I still eat it, and I get headache. So that we learn either through pain or through wisdom. This is the way it is. If I learn through wisdom, then I don't have to go through pain. If I keep ignoring the signal, and then nature has to give a bigger signal and bigger pain. And that's why the complex physical illnesses that exist. Our lifestyle, diet is part of it, but our lifestyle, nature is telling you, what should be your lifestyle. In other words, it includes our sleep, our exercise. If you stay within that norm, then nature is happy. Okay, where do emotional pains fit in? Why are there emotional pains? Is there a message there, or is it random? Emotional pains is a whole range of our sorrows and angers, sad, bad, and mad. Is there any message? It is, we use this broad term, wrong posture. Just like a physical body, you take a wrong posture, there is pain. In the same way, in this world, if I take a wrong posture, my attitude is wrong, then nature will give me pain. And this is where the spirituality comes in. And what the spirituality just means you are seeing a bigger map, that is all. So, if you are seeing our physical world, and let us say this box here represents the entire physical world, and Oxford is here, Newnham Courtney is here. So here is the world. Tell me one word that describes what is happening here. What is happening within this? Some say chaos, but even in perfect world, what is happening? What is the nature of this box? Energy, yes. And one very relevant for us is, it is unpredictable. Nature of it is such. You don't know what is to happen to this next second, the next minute. Agree? And so also, there are many things in this world that are unpredictable. And they don't create any problem to me. There are people there who are unpredictable. They don't harm me. as long as I have the right attitude there. Agree? But if I create a bondage, if I tie myself, then I will go up and down with their up and down. So there is a cloud there. It is unpredictable. It doesn't bother me. I am here, cloud is there. It may disappear, but doesn't trouble me. But if I create a bondage, it is almost like getting tied. Is it possible for me to create a bondage with that cloud? How? I'm here, cloud is there. Is it possible to create a bondage? No? If I create a desire, you create a bondage. I desire that cloud should not change color. I tie myself. I start to believe that is my cloud. I create a bondage. Broadly, we can say attachments, but this broad definition. The moment you create a bondage, then that will affect you. And if it is unpredictable, you will also go up and down. Agree? We have the option to remain free. That cloud is there, I am here. So here is this world that is, we said, unpredictable box. Any of you got any bondages here? Is it possible for us not to create a bondage? We are in this world, with your family, people, you are in it. Is it possible at all to be in this world and not to create any bondage? Who feels it is possible? Raise your hand. Okay, good, very good. Just one. Okay, let me ask another question. We all are in this room right now, and we are using things. I am using many things here. But you will say you have no bondage. You are involved, it's time to go, you will go, no bondage. You are told next week it is not there, no problem. How come? How did you manage? You are here for a full hour and not create any bondage. How did you manage it? Just this one word, and that word is a guest. You know that you are a guest. And even though you are in it, your perspective is from beyond. You know the very guaranteed exit. And because you know of this bigger map, it protects you from creating bondages. In this world, are we guests? Are we guests on this planet? Anyone got plans to stay? If you are not making those plans, then you are guests. If we forget we are guests, then we start to create bondages. And this is the only reason for our entire emotional pains. If that is the wrong posture, if we are a guest, then remain a vulnerable guest. That is the message from nature. Be involved, but know that this is not our world. We are travelers, we are passing. We know more about this, create time for this. Every second you are creating that awareness that you are a guest. You come in a different spiral. It's a journey, moving up. It is like changing the posture. Not just a guest, but you are an invisible guest. Because everything that is visible here, not even an atom, you can take with you. So if you can't take one atom from here, you can't define yourselves based on anything within this box. But it's a great, guests. Who enjoys Oxford more? Local people or tourists? Why? Why tourists enjoy more? Because they are guests. When there is no bondage, there is natural inner happiness, inner lightness, and everything appears good. When you are in bondage, then different game starts. You are insecure. That is you got so much to lose. You are trapped. Then you are in this unpredictable world. And you see yourself as a victim in that mind. Subconsciously, the mindset of a victim. Potentially things can go wrong. Poor me. Someone can say something, poor me. Someone can break something, and it is me, the victim. Forever. If I'm in that wrong posture, then the mindset is of a victim. And then different kinds of pains will come, emotional pains. Do you want to say anything? What happens, in Cambridge we see in Cambridge we have a very small population, less than Oxford. But some years we got 4 million tourists. So we see mainly the tourists here in the streets. And for them, everything is so wonderful. They take photograph of stones, photograph the porter, colleges. Local people are not noticing this. But for them it is so wonderful. Because you are in that mind of a guest. You are free, you are secure. And there is lightness. You can lose nothing. Those feelings are there. One philosopher asks, what is the difference between optimist and pessimist? What would you say? And there's two words, optimist, pessimist. What is the difference? Yes, it is like that, yeah. Some people say half empty, half full. That is what we know. But this philosopher, he makes a joke of it. He says, optimist wakes up in the morning and says, good morning, God. Huh? Everything is so wonderful for him. Pessimist wakes up and what does he say? Good God, morning. So morning is a problem and evening is a problem. Friends come to him, it's a problem. Every life is a problem. Job is a problem. To organize lunch is a problem. Same life, for the other person, it is opportunity and fun and joy. What made the difference? Where you are in that spiral. As you go down the spiral, then it becomes good God. And we have to go up the spiral. Then it changes. Same person, it can change. And ordinarily, our world taking us down the spiral. Because such is the nature. If you are not creating your conscious time, nothing suddenly goes up. Only with some attention things can go up. Normally things are pulled down. Our natural pattern is coming down. And this reflects with mental health problems worldwide. They are on the increase. Why? Because we are going down the spiral at a deep level. I'll speak of yet another kind of pain. We spoke of quite a few kinds of pains. What is still another kind of pain? What is that? Physical, yes, but we touched it. Different kinds of physical pain, wrong posture, and pain of knife, and emotional, we touched that also. And illness, we said the illness is also another more complex pain. And this pain is misfortune. We are speaking of another kind of pain that comes to us. Misfortune in different forms. We say that is also pain. And it is telling us, it is coming from nature and telling us that something is wrong, posture is wrong. And the nature wants us to change the posture. So let us see what is this pain of misfortune. And I'll give you an example. One friend of ours, she had she was artist and singer, dancer. She was very active in the cultural programs. Whenever we had a need, she's there. She meets with an accident, and in the accident, she says, different people got different injuries, and she was in the hospital. Her friends come to the hospital to visit her. And for some reason, they show her a mirror. And in the mirror, she sees that her head was shaved, face with swelling, black eye, scratches. And so she's seeing this mirror. And she says, she tells the story. She couldn't stop crying for hours. For the next couple of hours, she cannot stop crying. She's glad that she's alive and she has no physical pain, but she's crying. And in that phase, she realized that this is a signal for her. And what was the signal? She had created an ego based on her appearance. And this mirror, she is shown a mirror, and in the mirror she says, that face, that is the last thing she would like to see, something like this. But understood the signal, what the message was, and realized that this is what she has to drop. She has to change the posture inside, and recovered completely back to normal, back to her dancing. But understood the message. So what this message is telling us, that we tend to create these false identities. Broadly we can use the word ego, but it is false identities. We define ourselves based on something that is external, something that is temporary. Ego based on appearance in this case. And then it invites the forces of pain to give the signal, to change the posture. Just as we said here, you create just a little attachment and nature gives you signal, nature gives you pain. If you start defining yourselves based on this external world, create ego based on something external, then you will get the message. And the message will come in some form. Am I clear with that example? I'll give some other examples. One, if you were to, as an example, not a real case, say someone creates an ego that he is the head of the department, he is the most clever person, no one can do a job like this, creates an ego based on this. And so others can see that here is a person with a big ego, but he doesn't notice it. What possibly can help him drop the ego? What situation will help him drop the ego? And not losing the job. If the department itself closed down, that kind of situation will force him to drop the ego. Understand, no? nature has a priority. Nature wants to save you, not the job. Understand, no? At a deep level, nature wants you to be free from nature sees this as totally abnormal. You are creating ego based on something that you are not. It is abnormal posture. Nature wants to free you from that. And for that purpose, it might bring in a situation where you lose the job, or the department disappears and forces you to drop the ego. So here in our life, if I am to use this I think Mark must have drawn these wonderful sketches. Let us say below this line is this physical world, and there are many, many wonderful things here and people. And this invisible traveler is passing through this. He is a guest, and he is not any of these things. He remains that invisible traveler. But during this journey, if he starts claiming things here and he starts creating identities, defines himself based on the body, based on some role, based on possessions, that is the culture, to create these identities. And then you feed them, make them bigger. As you do this, this becomes weaker. So we are then into false identities. So if you are to take a photograph of our mind, if your selfie was to take a photograph of the mind, then you might see a picture something like this, where there are lots and lots of false identities there. Anyone here got ego? So these are like different identities, one based on the, some car, a smart car, another based on the children, you identify. How do you know when you identify? How do you know you really identify with something? Pain. And before, pain will come sometimes, but even before that, you are just taking things personally. That is enough. You take, like we said, I'm a guest here. And if someone was to say, this is not a good shape, this is ugly, and you had to take it personally, you feel it, then you are identifying with something there. So you may be identifying with Oxford or a city. It is possible. Someone was to tell you Cambridge is better, you might have some reaction. Or you may identify with some pop star, some celebrity. There is some sensitivity in some way. The royal family, some may identify with them. Or identify with, I know some who identify with the dog. No one can dare to criticize that dog because there is a full identification. You can see the absurdity of this. You are using the letter I here to the dog. As someone identifies with the shoes, these are real things. There is sensitivity. Everything becomes personal. Why are there wars? Why people fight wars? You identify. 100% reason. Identify with religions. They may not practice the religion, but identify. So that is the huge department. So someone may have all these, but one big one, that he is the professor of mathematics in a very special university. Someone else may have even bigger ego than the professor, that she is the wife of the professor. And whilst that is going on, it is at the cost. And the cost is the true identity becomes smaller. We all start from a position like this. If I am a guest, a vulnerable guest, then I am a guest here. There is no real reason to go to such level. To like a dog, to love a dog is one thing, and to identify is something else. That is confusion, serious confusion. And so nature wants us to be in a place like this. Understand? The inner position, nature wants us to be here. And when you create a false identity within this, let us take one of these. Identity, like this example, based on the appearance, she creates identity. Then nature generates a pain bubble. And the purpose of this pain bubble is to bring the message. And its aim is to remove this. And that bubble may take the form of, as was said, in a situation, she has to see the mirror. With that whole situation of accident. In this thinking, this ego inside is inviting the situations. One person said, these are real stories. She was a student in Cambridge, and she was with her family in Cambridge. She decided to go to another city because she wanted to be away from her father, for whatever reason. Didn't like the father. So she went to another city, took some part-time job in a different university. And life was going really well. She was away from her father. She says after 2 months, this boss at this new job started behaving exactly like the father. And in her words, he even started to look like the father. And she realized the connection. She can run away, but she cannot take her bubbles with her. She cannot take her, the pain mechanisms with her. It will come through some door. You may move away from one place, but you are inviting this. It may be through one person or from someone else. These are tailor-made, which means if you create an identity based on appearance, then the message will come through that. If you create an identity based on job, then message will be from that. If you create identity based on wealth, it will be from that. These are tailor-made messages. Just like if I am to touch a sharp object with this finger, I'll get pain here. I will not get pain in the leg. Nature wants to get the message to me, so that I change the posture. The message subject is clear, something for us to observe in our lives also, and once you understand it, then you understand we can change the posture beforehand. Or with whatever little message we got, we can change the posture, and then I don't need to learn through pain. Use wisdom to change the posture. Understanding what nature wants. We can't fight with nature. We are within. And within the limits of nature. I'll give you one more example, and this is one lady who was a scientist, but this was a story when she was a student, and she tells it in her words. I try to tell you exactly the way she described. She says when she was a student, she suddenly found that overnight she was to receive millions. Someone had written a will and she gets cash and houses and business and millions she was to receive. And in time she was still a student, and she appointed someone to look after all these businesses, and he does good job. She gets more millions. So things are going really well as a student. So she's, in her words, I created an ego based on this wealth and success. She was employing her friends in her business, so she had a circle, rich people. She would be buying things in a certain place, rich as rich people should do, drinking coffee in a big mug. So one day, she noticed that things were not going quite right. As time progressed, some problems, bigger problems. By now, 8 banks were involved in her business. And just like suddenly some pandemic comes, some situations come, there was a bankruptcy. So there were receivers, lost everything, all that she had inherited, gone. And she had a small flat before all this, and these 8 banks were after this flat. They were trying to get this flat on auction. And she says she was struggling inside. It's a really extreme sorrow. But still, she was borrowing money to keep her style. She tells. She was too embarrassed to talk about her failure. And this was going on for another few months. And the physical body was also affected by this, what was going on in her mind. One day, she was in her balcony, and there was one homeless lady on the pavement opposite. Seeing that, she says, she gets a thought, if I receive another letter from these banks, I'll give them the key and I will join that lady. I will be homeless from tomorrow. So I will tell my friends my address is Regent Street. So she was happy with this thought. There was relief, she says. Now she doesn't need to pretend anymore. There was relief. She sleeps for the first time after many days or weeks. In 2 weeks, she has received letters from all the 8 banks telling her that they want to help her. And she was a bit puzzled by this. Until then, they were all trying to, get her, give that flat. And now they all had different reasons, but they wanted to help her. But we said she's like a science person. She said, what is going on here? She went to meet all these 8 people and tried to check if any of them had decided, when they took this decision to change the policy. And they all changed the policy when she changed her policy. After that ego death, then things changed. So what you are seeing here, there was ego here, and ego creates its own bubble, pain mechanism. You drop the ego, there was no need of the pain. You don't need to learn through pain. Nature wants to reward you. We said, nature wants to give you pain if you are about to harm yourself, but if you are not harming yourself, nature wants to reward you. Nature doesn't give pain. So also here. So in theory, she could have learned this message first day and avoided lots of this, this chaos in her life. In theory, there are people who might never learn the message. Continue to hold on to the ego and then continue with the pain, longer. You will be clever to understand this, drop this wrong posture, and bring about the change. So next time I see you, I will see you all in a position like this. One is practical, how can we do this? It will be great, that is why this institution is there, but what is the practical step? Every second you are coming in this space, you are in line with nature. You are growing. That is the only way it will grow. Knowing is not enough, but we need to create time where we nourish that consciousness, higher consciousness. That invisible guest is a good start. That invisible guest, everything here is not our world, we are guests here. And as you grow in this will continue to become smaller. And you will stay with that higher self-respect. It will be nice to hear from you, and maybe some thoughts, your questions. Yes.
So if anyone wants to ask, would they take the microphone?
Thanks for the talk. I mean, it was quite eye-opener. We all of us, we end up living our life, and we have a lot of these ego and all those bubbles, the blue ones. How do I get out of it and holistic take a view that how many bubbles I've got and how many? Because I'm sitting within, I'm not realizing how many bubbles I've created. I've realized few, but I would have many.
Yes.
How do I identify and get rid of those?
Yes. One is to identify, another is how we remove them. So, here is the answer. Every minute we are nourishing this side, it will become like a contrast. Ordinarily this contrast is not there. This appears completely normal. Understand, na? Everyone around us and we are completely in it. But as you nourish this and give it a real attention, importance also, then contrast will stand out. This will stand out. And bubbles we might not, only when they act we know. But very fact that false identity is there, wrong posture is there, this bubble is waiting to act. But very, very relevant question, because without knowing we might be creating a stockpile of these bubbles, and it is wiser to remove them before they act in our lives.
Where a child has been hurt by their parents, then what false identity then are they carrying? Because we meet them and they carry a lot of pain.
Yeah. So children, where does these bubbles coming in the lives of children, how do they fit in this? What this model says, it is invisible traveler, invisible guest, he has a journey, and he has a journey before. Like if I was to die this moment, these bubbles and these false identities don't disappear. They go with me wherever I'm going. And in this model there is a reincarnation. Journey continues. I will be reborn again. And I will be born as a child. But inside, because I had a experience before, I have a account. That account I take with me. And that acts from young age. It can act any time. But good and bad, if I clear it, if I achieve this other side, we said nature is a friend, nature wants to reward you, nature wants to give you the best. So if someone brings about this change, then he is very lucky. Not just medium lucky, he will be lucky at all levels. Just like here, the problems with finances, here it will be abundance. Problem with health, this is healthy. Everything will be the best, if the inner state is right. And that also goes with you, and it will reflect from the young age.
That feels very harsh. That children that are hurt, in effect, it's their karma. They deserve to be hurt.
Yeah. It is like the nature's way of... Nature is not punishing. Nature wants to give a signal. Nature is a friend. And nature wants to help us change the posture for a higher good.
How to handle emotional bubble or attachments?
Sure. The only reason we create these attachments when we don't see the full picture. As we saw earlier, we have an exit. And if I have an exit, he appears to have an exit. That's interesting. More we remind ourselves of this bigger map. That is like here we are involved. We don't create any attachments just because this is very obvious to us. I encourage people to draw a sketch like this or take a photograph of this wonderful sketch and keep it in your main room. And each time you are looking at it, it reminds you of the bigger map. And we need to, as if, stretch our intellect. It should become so obvious to us that we have a guaranteed exit. We are guests here. That should become so obvious. And then we don't go in that downward spiral. These are like micro experiences. Each time you are looking at it, you are just reminded. And we are going up the spiral.
If we're just viewing ourselves as guests, might that also kind of reduce sort of almost motivation to create positive change and positive energy and connections with people?
Sure. We said that when we are in this spiral, we are in the victim mode because we are insecure. And when you are in the victim mode, you are helplessly selfish. You are motivated, but coming from that selfishness. But also, who will go in that spiral? One who is confused. So there is a confusion and there is selfishness. When you are in this higher space, you are secure. You are not a victim anymore. You feel very secure. You feel full internally. And when you are secure, you experience higher feelings like peace and happiness and contentment, but also enthusiasm. Many times guests come to our place and they want to do things, cleaning and washing up, and they are guests. But because they are happy, the motivation comes from that space, and we want to catch that energy, coming from that higher space rather than being flogged. In this mindset, you are, forced. You feel insecure. And that's why you want to run, bit like that. Play energy rather than panic energy.
What does nature want to teach us about grief?
Yes. The larger truth is that we are fellow travelers, and travelers come out, join in at different times in the train, but everyone is safe. Just we are travelers. You accept that posture and don't create bondages. When there is a bondage, then different kinds of pain comes. And one time it can be in the form of grief. Love is a completely separate thing. When we are secure, we are truly loving. Love comes when we are secure. Like, for example, why do we love children more? Just because they make you feel secure. That is the main reason. Some say it is innocence and all, but their innocence makes you feel secure. An adult may make you feel insecure. An adult is competing with your job, making judgments on you. Your ego feels insecure. Where a child is not making judgments on you, not seeing your weaknesses, you feel secure. And when you are secure, you are more loving. So when we are in that space, your love remains. Love for everyone. Only you are not in a wrong posture. That is
Isn't there a paradox when nature creates bondage between calf and cow, mother and child, and that in a way it encourages the two people to come together closer, and then any sort of separation or loss, it exasperate that feeling of loss.
Yes. The word bondage is, we want to be in a space where it is detached involvement. We are involved, at the same time free. That is the space we want to be in. And just like a driver, he uses the car, he's in charge of the car, but at the same time, he is not part of the car, and he has his home, he has his independence, and he's fully involved in the car. He should not get stuck to the car. Then he will not be enjoying the car. He's involved, but he should remain free. Nature wants us to be free. Involved, but free. But we said, through our attitude, we can create a knot. Maybe more difficult questions to mark afterwards. We will also create some time for silence and practice. Is that right, Mark? Maybe before I finish, I would like to tell you a story. Do we have time for that? I know we have crossed the time. You like a story? In this story, one man was falling off a cliff. I think it is in Oxford. You know. And as he was falling off, he tries to catch hold of a tree branch and says, God, God, help, help. And there was God. You know, God said, I can help you, but you have to obey. So this God said, you know, yes, you know, this man was happy. I'll obey. You know, I will do anything for you. You know, my life is for you, and I trust you so much. But save me now. So God was very impressed that this man is willing to do anything for me. He said, in that case, let go. He is holding to this branch. You know, so God said, it's amazing, you trust me so much, then let go. So there was long silence. And after the long silence, he said, is there anybody else there? And there was nobody else. So he has to listen to God and let go. And when he let go, he discovered he was on the ground. You don't have big mountains here in Oxford. So now that he is on the ground, he can go back on that tree. He can go back on those branches. He can do the same thing he was doing before. What's the difference? Yes, now he's playing with it. Earlier he was in panic. What made the difference? And belief in what? Now he knows he's safe. Now he knows he's secure. So now he's with the branches, he's playing with the branches. Earlier, same branch, but he was in panic. This is our story. And what are the branches? Various supports that we take in this world, and that includes people. You think someone else will give you support in a position, all this ego we saw, based on position, possessions. Your iPod will give you eternal security. Pounds, and in some places, pesetas and pizza. So you are looking for security from that insecure box. That box comes with a label, unpredictable. And you are taking supports from that insecure box. So the life itself becomes one of panic. Understand? Obvious. We have the option. Option is touch that security from beyond. Guest is not taking security from here. Guest is free, but he is secure. He can lose nothing. That's why they say, good morning, God, because he got nothing to lose. He's secure from beyond. And when he's secure, having discovered that, he's not running away from this. He's coming in this world, coming in the world of people and position and possessions, but with the energy to play. Same world, but with a different energy. When will he perform better? When he's in panic or play? Say you have to go from here to Oxford. Which driver will you choose? One who is in panic? So we have the option to to play with this. And as we said, 1 minute each time you play with it, we continue to go in that right posture. Shall we create a minute of silence? Samantha, want to add anything? I'll speak few words and let us create a focused experience. And in this minute we see that our posture is comfortable, preferably both feet on the floor. Consciously relax the shoulders and the fingers. And we use our spiritual sight. And with this spiritual sight, the whole physical world appears like a theater, a story. So everything we saw today happened in a story. For this minute we see in that way. Everything was a story. Everything of the past a story. There is nothing to complain about and nothing to worry about. And the invisible guest is observing this story. He is free. He is not part of the story. Invisible guest is the invisible observer. He has appreciation for every moment of the story. He says this moment right now is a gift. And the next moment is a gift. This body is a gift. He doesn't claim anything, doesn't want to cling to anything, but appreciation and gratitude. The invisible guest has the option to come beyond the story. And beyond the story is silence. There is no noise of the story. A world of complete stillness. We see this world in the image of sky. Timeless and changeless and secure. Invisible guest belongs to this timeless sky. as he continues on his journey in the sky and on earth, he remains aware of the immensely beautiful truth. Truth is immensely beautiful for everyone.